How's it going? This is weird.
It is. It's just us. We're back old school. This is like
Yeah.
here we are nibbling up against episode 50, and we decided to bring it back just for tonight because there's just a lot of things going on, with Livid and the books we're working on, and your writing and everything that we felt would be a good chance to just kind of go over some of those things and tell everybody what the heck we're doing these days. So
Yeah.
yeah, so that's
And
cool.
also, I wanted to announce we fired Ruggiero, so that's why he's not here. He's gone. Got to get him out of the credits. No, just kidding. I hope he's watching.
Yeah, yeah.
Give him my best Donald Trump. You're fired.
You're fired. So my son actually does that when he's angry at my wife or I. He just tells me that he's fired. I don't know
Yeah.
where he got it from, but it's hilarious. He's like running around. He's like, "You guys are fired." I'm like, "Okay, cool. I think that's good." Yep. I like to be fired. Yeah.
Well, I think we can talk about show 50, what the plan is there.
It's a little
I've reached-
different. It's fun. Oh, he is here. Here he is. So. I'm a zero. Yep.
Sorry, so you heard what I said then. I was just kidding. I promise. Uh, no, for show 50, I've reached out to a couple people already in their game.
Nice.
But we want to basically have an open forum, just inviting past guests on, friends of the show, and just hang out for a handful of minutes. Promote anything you want to promote, just chat, whatever the hell you want to do. Just basically celebrate 50 shows and past, present, future guests. So
Yeah, the crash party, I'm calling it, right? The
yeah,
episode 50. I'm just gonna put the link up there, and if you want to show up in the room, come show up, man. Like, there's
yeah,
no rules. Like, it's gonna be a free for all. It'll be like we'll be maxing out the StreamYard with like 30 windows of just random people. It's gonna be awesome. Just
or it'll be
all,
nobody. It won't
yeah,
be just like this week. Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
There'll be a bunch of people talking over each other, I'm sure. So whatever, it's all good.
Yeah, we've been on plenty of shows like that. So
It's all good.
yeah.
It'll be fun.
Uh,
So look for the link, and you can come on and make fun of us or give us hell. So that's okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's all good.
Yeah.
So Deadball, a quick update on that because it feels like this is dragging out forever, but it'll be worth it. We promise.
Looks great.
Yeah, it looks great. It's in the hands of the letterer right now. We hired the great Ed Dukeshire, who was someone I handpicked. I really wanted to go out and get him if I could because he lettered some of my favorite books, the ones Doug Wagner did for Image, vinyl and plastic, and he mainly works for Boom Studios. He does a lot of their lettering, so he has all his monthlies through the bigger name companies that he has to do, and he was nice enough to take on our book and try to fit it in between his monthlies. So he told me he should have it to me next week. It'll be done. Obviously, we want to proof it, double check, make sure everything's good. But then, of course, we have a paper shortage right now, so that's awesome too. But book it'll be done digitally in our hands next week, so we can drool over it. So I'm
Yeah.
excited. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. Guys, it took a little bit of time because we really wanted to do it right. The coloring was done in a different way too. So when I talk about the art of it, I did the coloring, so you could blame some of the delays on me for that. So what I used was a water brush tool, which is almost like a staining effect on there. So normally what'll happen when you're drawing and coloring these books is you could use like a fill tool. So you could have like a shape and you could drop a color in and boom, like, whatever, 30%, 40% of your page is automatically colored. With this water brush technique, I literally had to paint every single pixel and little nuance that you see there. And Ruggerio's artwork is so cool and so in depth and in detail that you're jumping through colors a lot. You're clipping and cutting, and oh crap, the way that this brush works is it bleeds over into some other things sometimes, and sometimes I left that intentionally because I'm like, we wanted it to look like an older 80, 100-year-old book where maybe over time some of that saturation has happened as the colors run through the panels and pages, and maybe it was up in your attic and rain got to it or water or something. But my point being is that the coloring took a long time because of the way that it looked, but I think it looks awesome. So it's kind of worth the time. But basically every page was hand painted. That was a
Yeah.
big part of it too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that took a while. Like John mentioned, the paper shortage is going on right now, so running into some printing delays, and that's just everything, right? It's hard to find people to do things. It's hard to get things made. It's hard to get things shipped. All
Yeah.
that good stuff. But we appreciate the pre-orders for sure. We didn't run away with that. We want to get these books in your hands as quickly as possible. We're excited about it, and I hope you feel it was worth the wait when you guys finally get them. So we appreciate your
Yeah.
patience. Yeah,
I mean, I feel like they'll be excited to see it, for sure. I love it. And oh, by the way, so like the company we use for printing, they have had a paper shortage, but I also saw a different printing company on Facebook talking about their shortage too, and how they have paper right now, but it's not the paper they like. So the books are being like printed on like lower quality stuff almost. And I'm like, oh man, like I almost would rather wait till they get the right stuff. I don't know.
I wonder if we'll
Um,
still like the crappy old like newsprint paper of
yeah, I
like
don't know.
the Silver Age, and like
Yeah,
animal skin, so they printed on vellum and leather.
yeah.
Could be
I
cool.
don't. um, I think Roderick might have had the right idea when he talked about going 100% digital with his company. The paper shortage, he can just pop his stuff out whenever he wants now.
Right?
But
Yeah.
no, I want the physical copy in my hand. But so I recently, the other night, I watched Nightmare Alley on HBO Max, and I was telling Rogerio for issue 2 and beyond to watch that for inspirations, because if you get a chance to see it somehow, I mean, it just reeks of Deadball. Like it takes place 20 years later than the Deadball story, but it just felt like I was watching a side story in Deadball, which obviously Del Toro made it. He's a bit of a master, so he
Right.
probably run laps around us. But it it felt like Deadball, like just the whole vibe of it, like the look, the era, obviously. But there's some crazy carnies involved, and it's a good movie.
Yeah.
A bit of a slow burn. It wasn't as horror oriented as I wanted it to be, but it was very dark. It's good.
Some of those
But
shows just sneak up, man. Like I don't even hear about some of this stuff, and then all of a sudden, it's like everyone's like, "Did you see this? Did you see that?" And I'm like, "No, I don't know." Like, there's so much content out there now. It's like really hard to consume all of
yeah,
it. Another series that Deadball was partially inspired by was I was a huge fan of the Carnival series on HBO. So if you guys watch that, that's kind of what was thought in my mind when I approached John and said we should do a baseball story, but do it in like the Great Depression era, Dust Bowl kind of grit, and then the carnies from there. That was such a good series, man. And then they like cut that thing, and
I
it
can't believe
ended
they haven't gone back and like done like, because they keep doing like
right.
these like movies or revivals. I'm surprised they haven't done it with that, because it won awards. It wasn't like it was like looked down upon. Like people
Yeah,
loved it. I don't know.
maybe if it was coming out now, right, with like HBO Plus and that kind of thing, and there's such a push for content with some of these streaming services, maybe now it would have actually grabbed hold for 4, 5, 6 seasons.
Yeah,
Whereas back then, I don't know, maybe I'm off my mark here, but I feel like HBO was more about movies, right? It wasn't about
oh,
series.
definitely.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's about series yet. Now that's all that these streaming places want are these series that you can latch onto and binge
yeah.
watch.
Yeah,
It's really
yeah,
what they
that's
want.
it. With all of the premium, like all the movie channels and everything. I mean, no one cares what movies they have. I mean, sure, there's something like Nightmare Alley I got to watch, but like for the most part, it's they're competing against Netflix and Amazon Prime and stuff now. That's their focus. They want to win that away. So, but
Yeah.
but yeah, so um, that was a good movie. It definitely gives Deadball vibes. I recommend it. But for Deadball, um, it's it's done. And Rosario has issue 2, the script in hand, so I don't think he started it yet outside of some outlines, but there's really no rush with the paper shortage, and we want Yule 2 to come out next after this, and then probably Deadball 2. So we got a bit of time here, but as far as Kickstarter is concerned, we didn't want to start that until the book was done. That's just how we were with Yule. That's how we are with Deadball. We don't ever want to start a campaign until the book's basically ready to go to print. So once we get it next week, I think we'll start pumping up the Kickstarter, which initially we wanted to probably have live by now, but it's fine. But anyone that backed us with the collectors, they're not going to have to wait through all that. We're going to put their order in ASAP. As soon as we get proof that everything looks the way we want it to look, those orders are going in, and so we can get those out to those people. So
Yep. May even get you a digital copy ahead of that. So we'll see if we can hook you, get you both, right, and take care of that.
Yep.
So that's cool. And we are bringing back Scotty, who did the trailer on the Yule book. So he's going to be doing the trailer for Deadball. And for people that don't know Scotty, he's does major motion picture trailers out in LA. So most of the big films that you see, he probably had his hand in that trailer portion of it. So we're really excited that he's willing to come back and do another one with us. So it should be cool to see what he puts together.
Oh man, I randomly tweet out, hey Josh, I randomly tweet out the Yule trailer just sporadically because I love it so much. So did I say something bad about Netflix? I love Netflix.
Oh no, Netflix. We just talked about content series. Yeah, we didn't do it.
I had Netflix in mind for Yule all along. If we ever caught on with something, but yeah. So
yeah, Scott's a genius on the trailers, man. Like that kid, he hit it with Yule like first swing with that.
Yeah.
He just said it to us, and he's like, "Let me know if there's any edits." We're like, "What? There's no edits." It's
good.
perfect.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Awesome. So I'm really excited to see what he throws together with that. Yeah,
for sure.
Good. Yeah,
be cool.
Now all the art's done, it helps to have the art do the trailer. Weird, right? So it's like it's timeline of events that have to happen so the next thing can happen. Yeah.
When he did the trailer for Yule, though, he had to work around it a bit because we were still in the middle of doing the book when we wanted the trailer from him. Granted, it ended up working out because you had the art done up to the point where we would have wanted to tease anyways. We didn't want to show any more beyond that. So, but now he has the full arsenal, at his disposal. So, yeah, it'll be cool. I picture like it starting out with like the "Take Me Out to the Ball Game" song, but like slowed down, like just creepy kind of.
Like a Victor roll-up breaking or something.
Yeah.
Should be cool. Like the 180, the trailer, right? We did it on Yule, where it starts out happy, then it goes into the dark, scary stuff. Yeah. It's awesome. Yeah, I'm really excited to see what he puts together. What's up, Nick?
Hey, Nick. Next week, show 50. We're opening it up to past guests if you want to pop in for a few and talk what you got going on.
Yeah,
to message him.
Got some big things cooking on the burner. So yeah, stop by and come hang with us. It's just a crash party, so it'll be a good time. So
I don't know how much he's allowed to say about that yet, but it'd be cool if he can spill a little bit.
Talk around it, like Yeah, rhymes with blah blah blah. Yeah. So I feel we obviously had some some delays and things just with the world, right? I mean, I don't have to go into the details. Everybody knows what the hell's going on in the world and things, but I feel like 22 is going to be better in terms of things being able to be done more quickly, coming together, and just we're bringing on more people to the team. Like the letterer you mentioned, that's going to help expedite things. We might be looking at somebody to handle inks or handle color, like just building out our team and things, and we should be in a position to do that. And I know you have a lot of ideas, John, for other titles.
Oh my God,
things, right?
I want you so bad.
You're their stuff, and there's no way that Ruggiero, John, and I can do all of it. So I mean, we have to start outsourcing some of that stuff to bring you the stuff we want to. But I'm excited for 22. I feel like the end of 21, we just ran into some unforeseen delays, and we'll get through it. It'll be
Yeah.
good. But we still want to
I'm,
focus on bringing quality to everybody. We don't want to, sacrifice the quality just because there's otherworldly issues and bring someone a crap product. So that's not our goal. So we'll be patient and bring you something good always.
yeah. Well, and I think it's important to, we're a new company still. I mean, we're a year old, right? And 2-man show. We got Ruggiero on to do art for Deadball, but you and I run the ins and outs of Livid, so it's like everything. I get that. So the business aspect of it, the business side of it, like we gotta like do all that. I mean, anyone that owns their own publishing company gets it. I know, so we're not, and there's nothing new there about that. But there's just a lot that goes into all of that. We got to take time to put the whole Kickstarter together, which anyone that's run one of those knows that's a pain in the ass to just set the whole
Yeah.
thing up and monitor it and push that for a month while still getting out content with day jobs.
And then
So
Kickstarter, I think we had about 15 hours, working hours of you and I
yeah,
packing envelopes. So I mean, it's real, guys. If you guys haven't done a campaign before, and the fulfillment part was like this whole entire room was like a production studio full of just boxes and stuff, and like an assembly line. I think the wife and kids were helping at one point pack stuff, and it was just trying to get things out.
yeah, we did. Your kids are
Yeah,
handing me stuff to put in the
yeah.
yeah.
And it wasn't necessarily because they were just excited. We just like, hey, can you jump in here and put stickers in a box?
Yeah. You want to
Yeah,
be in here, you're working.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, but it was
Yeah.
50 solid hours over like 2 days, like at least,
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's
Yeah.
real. Yeah,
Yeah. I
not that.
lucked I lucked out that you ran out of ink. Because then you had to do the rest on your own. I felt bad, but
Yeah, I ran out of
um,
print guys doing the labels, so I had to. John had to leave, and then had the next day go get inked and finish up shipping all your stuff. So, real. These are the types of stupid delays that add time to things that just you don't anticipate. Like
yeah.
it's whatever, but yeah, it's all good. It's fun. But
Yeah. Well, like
thank
you said,
you.
the process is getting better though. Like
Yeah,
we've only run one Kickstarter, but just making a book, like we're getting the hang of the process of it. And like you said, starting to outsource more stuff. So uh, you want to jump on that first? I can stop talking, but
oh, it's okay. So what we did was we took we got approached by Felix Blackwell, who we had on this show, and he's fans of Livid, fans of our art, fans of what we're doing, and he said, hey guys, I got this new project I want to put out on an NFT. Would you guys be interested in helping us do that? And I was like, oh shit, that's cool. Like we're fans of your stuff. We loved Stolen Tongues in the book and thing, and it's a honor to partner up with them and do some things. So we said sure. So we jumped on that in like an art capacity. John's handling some of the marketing and building out the community on Discord and Twitter. We were gonna launch that like a month or two ago, and then the crypto crash happened. Right, so the market kind of went crazy in there. What was it, John? Like a 20 to 40% correction in crypto or something
almost. Well, as
wild.
far as Solana, as far as the currency we're using, it was like a 50% dip from where it was when we were about to launch. But yeah, the market itself, it was like 20 to 30% or something like that, I think. But big drop, and it's obviously a volatile market, so it's going to happen. But it's the project's worth waiting on and not rushing it out to get it out. It's done. I mean, as soon as we want to hit launch, it's ready to go. We're just holding back a bit. We're going to build up some marketing stuff anyways. So the extra time probably is a blessing, to be honest. But the work's done. The artist got everything done. It's ready to, as soon as Felix gives the green light, we can launch that thing and just send it off into the galaxy. So
Yeah, I know. One of the cool things that we did with this project is I know there's been a lot of concern about environmental impact for minting NFTs and things, and the currency that we're using is Solana. Has the least amount, right, John? What you do a little
yeah,
bit more about that? Yeah, well,
because honestly, it does. I do care about that, and as a writer, I'm in a lot of these writing groups, and I see a lot of people shitting on NFTs. Like, whether they say it's a scam or it's bad for the environment. Like, I don't want to argue with anyone there, and I'm not going to open up arguments there. I try to like give the information I
Right.
know, right? But I researched it, and there are some that are bad. Granted, small individuals like ourselves are not going to make a big difference no matter what, um, but the bottom line is Solana is one of the most energy efficient cryptocurrencies there are out there, and it it uses less energy than 2 Google searches. Like when you mint an NFT through Solana, like it's less than that. So like someone that is complaining about that, but then goes online and streams Netflix or YouTube, that's using more energy than minting an NFT through Solana. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that part of it is not true when it comes to that particular currency. There are some that are pretty bad, but I wouldn't have wanted to use that. And Felix is very, very aware of that stuff, and he cares about that. So he searched out Solana, like he wanted to use it because of how energy efficient it was, and knowing that. I mean, let's face it. Anytime something's new, people think there's some scam stuff going on with it, right? They just don't. They don't know it. It's the unknown. When crypto first came out, I was like, this is stupid. This isn't
Yeah.
gonna last, and here we are, freaking.
At $300, right? Yeah. I was like, I'm not
Yeah,
buying a $200 Bitcoin. Yeah.
it's
So,
not going anywhere. I mean, stores have Bitcoin machines in their freaking, like, convenience stores have them now. You can literally go into the Shell station down the street, and they have a Bitcoin machine in the freaking gas station. I'm like, what the fuck? It's
right.
and the other thing I want to say when people are complaining about the NFT stuff is, okay, if you're going to shit on the little man right now, like there's some small publishers that are putting NFTs out for books, and they're getting ripped apart right now. And I want to be like, if you're going to do that, I mean, are you going to stop supporting Marvel, DC, Pepsi products if you are someone that likes their stuff, Visa, Nike, Reebok, you name it. I mean, everyone is putting
Right.
NFTs out right
Yeah.
now. Yeah, the NFL, NBA, like they're all doing it. So like, are you going to just not support them either anymore? You know what I mean? Like, why are you taking it out on the little man that's trying to get with what's going on? It's not going away. It's going to be part of our everyday life, whether we want it to be or not. And there's parts of it that you and I still don't understand. I think
Yeah,
we
I'm
can
a
be
little
honest.
old.
Yeah.
I think, what the consensus that I always see is like people. There's always this like, I call it like almost like a dad joke at this point. Everyone's like, "Hey, why don't you just right click on it, save, made your NFT," and like, okay, so first of all, it's not about the image. Everybody thinks it's the art, the image, right? I'm an artist, and I'll tell you right now, and I'm an artist for this project. It's not about my image. So really, what the NFT is it's like a digital receipt that's tied to something else. So what people say, okay, so what is the receipt for your project? So part of, and the project's called Starborn. You can go to starborn.io and look at it. A portion of the proceeds from this particular project are going to go to a charity that our community that owns these NFTs decides upon. So they're going to collectively pick something, and then we're going to say, okay, this chunk of money is going to go to that because this is what the community wants. On top of that, it's access to a game where it's a puzzle-based game, and through solving puzzles, you unlock newer eldritch characters that are kind of based on the Lovecraft universe of like cosmic horror. That's really what it's like. So the image that you get shows that you're part of that community, that you're a puzzle solver or whatever people. I'll let the community decide what they want to call themselves, Starbordians or whatever. Uh, but I don't know. But it shows that you're part of that community, or maybe that you're also you know doing some philanthropy and backing that charitable aspect of it too. So the NFT image that you see online, like the board, I always think of the Bored Ape yacht clubs because that's everywhere, right? So reason why that got so high and prolific in value was it allowed these elite people to actually go to like a yacht and have a real party, and basically it was their ticket stub, right? It showed that you were part of this club, that you could go to this yacht,
Yeah.
have this party, right? So I see a lot of people make a fantastic image, right, on these NFT groups. Like, it looks great. Your image looks great. And I'll just ask them straight up. I'll say, what is the utility that's behind your image? Like, what does your image allow me to do if I buy it? Can I go to Fort Lauderdale for spring training and hang out with Bobby Dahlbeck from the Red Sox and get a exclusive hangout time with him because I bought your NFT? Like, that's the kind of things that it does. So picture going to Best Buy, you buy a laptop, they give you that dumb paper receipt, right, that says you have this laptop. Well, now instead of that dumb paper receipt, you're getting an image that basically ties back to that laptop. That's what that would
Yeah.
be. So hopefully that makes sense for people. And then you could take that image and what's owning underneath and through it, and you give it to somebody else. Say, okay, you're going to get the laptop, and you're going to get the digital image showing that you own the laptop, and it's registered on the blockchain, showing your ownership of it. So hopefully that's the dumbed down 40-year-old plus guys old man version of it.
Well, because I feel like, we had Marcus on to explain it, but Marcus is a guru with that shit. So I feel
Yeah.
like a lot of the stuff he explained would still go over people's heads because he was pretty technical about his explanation of a lot of it. So thanks, Nick. So, the way you just explained it definitely brought it down to layman's terms, I feel like, which
Yeah.
is what we have to do that in our day job about finance, right? So it's really no
I
different
hope
here.
I'm right. I could be wrong, and I
No,
may not be showing all of the elements and aspects of it, but I think that does a little bit more justice than somebody saying, "Okay, I'm just going to go right click save this." Okay, my analogy with that would be you found that paper receipt in the parking lot of Best Buy from someone else that bought a laptop, but you're still not going to be able to take that and then own the laptop. I
yeah.
hope that, yeah, that's what I kind
Well,
of like.
but that's like when you ask people what their utility is, because if it is just images they're selling, then sure, like, okay, like, yeah, you're selling a digitalized image that has a serial number to it. Someone could right click and save that right now, and then you have nothing else besides a serial number on that, right? Like you could sell it and make more money off it. That person can't. But when there's a utility, when there's something tied to it, like the project we have, I mean, it's a global puzzle game. It's going to be freaking awesome. It's going to be a blast, to be involved in that. You have to be part of the NFT. And, if someone right clicks and saves one of the images that you guys worked on, I mean, they're not part of that. I
They
mean,
can't solve the
so
puzzle. They don't get to vote on the charity. All of those things, right? There's no money going to the charity that's going to be in their
granted,
name.
someone trying to steal a picture probably doesn't care about charity,
Yeah,
but
but
yeah,
really quick, going back to like talking about authors and NFTs and things. Like I could easily see, let's say you wrote a novella and you say, hey, listen, I only want there to be 10,000 of these out in the world. You could theoretically mint an NFT and that's tied to that, and you sell 10,000, you mint 10,000 of these, and when you own that, you have access to that novella, right? And
yeah.
that's the only way you can get into that
That's
book.
that's happening now. So in the writing group one of the writing groups I'm in, so D&T Publishing, who actually they have some awesome books. The one I was just telling you about off air, they did this one through Daniel Volpe. This book's awesome. They published this, but they're promoting that they're exploring. They're going to do their first NFT only book novella, and it got ripped apart on social media, from some authors that we really respect too, which, I won't say their names on here because I still respect them. I whatever anyone's opinion is their own opinion. I'm not gonna crap on anyone.
Different opinions, and it's cool. We
Yeah,
still talk. So it's
yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Yeah,
But basically saying if you back this, or if you're someone that even understands how these work, then F off sort of thing. I'm like,
yeah.
that's so one side. Like, come on, like,
It's just a different avenue, right? But and if you want to talk about some of the environmental things, like how much paper would 10,000 books take? How much ink would it take? How much fuel to ship these books and things like
yeah.
that with that, right? So
That's where, because they measure the energy for like minting in I'm drawing a blank right now, but like they show like the amount of energy it uses, like to convert something, to search on YouTube, to search on Google, to mint an NFT. I have no idea how the factory stuff with papers and books and all that compares. I don't want to sound intelligent on that because I would just be talking out of my ass.
just
So
pontificate, but I imagine it's got to
no,
be right. If you're cutting down a
I don't
tree,
know. I don't know.
paper,
Yeah.
yeah,
You would think that, but I just started thinking deeper, or thinking more and digging deeper, and like, well, what about when the internet came out? I mean, it wasn't as efficient as it is now. People weren't complaining about that. Like, to search on a web browser back then must have taken up way more energy than it does now. It's technology advancing. Charging your iPhone takes up more energy than minting an NFT through Solana. It's stuff that people won't complain about because they need it. They need that. They won't give up their streaming. Watching something on Netflix, or doing a YouTube search. That's just something they won't give up because that's part of their everyday life. Well, this is brand new. It's going to be part of our everyday lives, whether you want it to be or not. You don't have to partake in it, but these are not going anywhere. It's just not going away. You don't see billion-dollar companies start exploring this sort of thing if it's a fad. It's not going to happen. They wouldn't pour hundreds of millions of dollars into these projects if they thought it was just, oh, this is the next Beanie Baby, that's a comparison a lot of people
Oh yeah,
have said.
see that. Yeah,
And
yeah.
I understand that. Again, when Bitcoin came out, I thought it was stupid, and I still don't have Bitcoin. Like, I don't invest in
I
crypto
got no crypto.
necessarily.
I'll just
Yeah,
nothing.
uh, but um, with NFTs, I do get them more than I thought I would. Like, at first I thought the whole idea was silly, and I still see why people would think that. Especially we're at that age where you could go either way. You could say, this is freaking stupid. Like, you guys enjoy your fake, digital crap. I'm going to have my physical stuff. Or you could easily say, all right, yeah, this is cool. Let's see what this is all about. We really are like right on the cusp of that age. So a lot of these authors that I respect and follow, they're a bit older than me. So I guess I don't know. I mean, I understand where they're coming from, that they would hate it. Literally, like, a lot of the name, like Joe Hill, uh, Alan Baxter, Chris Golden, like all these guys, they despise them. Neil Gaiman hates NFTs. So it, obviously, as someone that's delving into them, it's like, ugh, like, I love all these guys. I don't want them to hate me,
Oh
but
no,
yeah,
it's okay.
yeah,
It's okay to have different opinions. We respect
yeah,
those guys. That's what makes the world cool, right? And
yeah,
I think we live in a time when everyone feels everyone's got to have everybody's opinion, and that's not true, and it makes the world less interesting. So I think the NFT is going to bridge the gap between digital and physical asset, and it can help expedite some process that could also be time consuming and more resource costly. Like I think it's stupid stuff like how hard it is and all the bullshit you have to go through to like get a house, right, and go sit with like a mortgage person and sign all this paperwork and have some attorney there and like a title all that stuff, man. It's a day out of your life, right? You go into this place, you got to pay them all kinds of money to do dumb forms that they just put your name and address on and some universal thing. And the you could theoretically have your house on the blockchain tied to an image, right? That's the NFT. And I could say, okay, John wants to buy my house. I want to sell my house. Instantaneously, boom, and now it's John's house, and it's on a digital record, right? You don't have to have some lawyers and title clerks and state paperwork, and that all could go to them to keep it in the, through the electronic channels can go to whatever registry needs to log that stuff and keep it there to show that you're on the deed. But it
yeah.
could really expedite a lot of, I think, it's stupid stuff too. Like if you sell a car and you need to get a title, it takes like 45 days for the state to send you a new title with your name on it. Like if I sold you my car, John, it would take like 45 days for the mail to come for you to have your name on that title. Like that's a thing that could be instant on an NFT. Goes
Yeah.
part of it breaks off to the state, says, "Yeah, John now owns this car." And it's instant. Like, why are we doing this to ourselves in this era, digital era? So,
Right.
uh, yeah, that could be cool. So, that's things that I could see coming down, and that could help also carve out some of the environmental impact and things is
Yeah.
saving time and energy. I mean, all that stuff's good. So
Well, and again, I mean, I look at it like this is in its infancy stage, so they're going to get more efficient as technology gets better. Like,
everything.
they're not, yeah, it's not. I understand that in its early stages, there are some currencies specifically, like Bitcoin's actually, I think, pretty bad too. That is one of the higher energy using currencies to basically See, this is where I sound like an idiot.
Cement them, right? You see
Yeah, it would.
those guys, they have these like Quonset huts full of like fans with like these racks and racks of
Yeah,
servers and towers going. Yeah, that's what I see anyway, but could all be shit.
yeah.
So
Oh man.
moron, I don't know. But that's what I
Yeah,
see. Yeah.
yeah. That's funny.
But
We
yeah,
weren't even going to talk about Starborn tonight, but this is
no, it's all
that's what you get on the random shows. Nick brought it up, so we just spent like 20 minutes on it.
no, it's cool. It's a topic I think that's really interesting, and it might be cool to actually have someone on that has an opinion against them, and then bring on like somebody like Marcus who actually works in that space to kind of talk that out. And then we
That
just sit
feels so
back.
uncomfortable.
No, I just
Yeah.
sit back and like, moderate, let those guys do their thing, and just say, okay, guys, like just keep it civil, just talk. Like, it's cool. I love conversations like that because you can learn from both sides, right? And eventually
Yeah.
you'll figure out what you believe and what you think is good. So it's awesome.
Well, we also know if we spill it over to Twitter and Facebook that we'll get a bunch of views because it's an argument, so they'll push it up to the front.
It's going to be
Uh,
dynamic, right? It's going to have a dynamic interaction.
yeah,
Pull
yeah.
around with that. So, yeah.
Um,
Oh, there's
so
Angela, buddy. We're having
hey, what's going on?
an easy
Um,
night. That's the best painter in Jacksonville, Florida, Angelo DeLeon, checking in. So here he is. That's actually his painting back here on the wall, right? That one.
I don't
So
think I knew that.
yeah,
I
that's his.
don't know if you told me that.
Yeah, he's my like painting pen pal is what I call him. So like we never officially met, but we just hooked up on Facebook and became good friends, kind of like you and I were doing with drawing and thing. Before we started Livid and
Yeah,
similar type of thing. So yeah, it's cool. So yeah, you're welcome, buddy.
yeah.
So keep up the good. He's so prolific. Maybe we'll have him on the show sometime. He's so prolific, man. He's putting out like 3 paintings a day. It's insane. Like he's
Jeez.
he's crushing. And he does this really cool like 50s, 60s looking retro sci-fi like backgrounds and space age stuff. And so when we do a sci-fi book, I have him lined up to hopefully
At
do a
least do a
cover.
cover, right? Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. Virgilio says you don't want to become the Neil Young of NFTs. Yeah,
Oh
uh,
man, I'm not
yeah.
going in that rabbit hole tonight. I'm not. I'm
Yeah.
not getting in that argument.
Thanks, Angela. Appreciate it, buddy. Yeah, yeah. We can. Well, we'll save the politics. It's Friday night, so it's all good. Yeah,
Oh man. So I do want to talk about Yule 2,
yeah.
and I want to talk about my book, which I'm excited about. But real quick, before I forget, I have I have my stack of books over here that I wanted to pull from tonight. So um, next week, no, not next week. Next week's the 50th show. The week after that, what am I wrong?
What's today? And what's the
11,
date?
18. No, yeah, okay, yeah, the 18th, right? That's when we're having Keelan Patrick Burke on. So he's a horror author. He's a great horror author, and he has a comic book coming out that week, I believe. Yeah, earlier in that week, because I'm going to try to grab it and read it before we have him on. Of one of his novellas. So Sour Candy, it's pretty short. It's like 75 like almost 80 pages, and I freaking loved it. I hadn't read it yet. I always wanted to, but it pushed it up to the front of my list when I knew he was coming on. It came out like 5 or 6 years ago, but he's having a comic book. I'd say it's probably more like a graphic novel. I think it's like 100 pages actually, of this book getting put out through John Carpenter's publishing company. I didn't even know he had a
It
company. At
kind of
least,
looks like a John Carpenter cover, like that. I don't know, the red and the black.
yeah.
And
Oh,
you
dude,
think,
yeah. I know you don't have to zoom in again if you don't want, but
yeah,
like it's yeah, it is batshit crazy. I freaking loved it. I think you dig it. It's a quick read. I read this in one sitting. 75 pages. I was just hooked. But he's coming on in 2 weeks. We got our 50th show next week. Oh yeah, well, we'll talk about Yule 2 in a minute, right? As far as our
yeah,
status there. But Sour Candy's great. I feel bad because when I reached out to him to have him come on, I mentioned his book Bad Candy, not Sour Candy. Bad
oh,
Candy's the horror movie we had Scott Hansen on, and it was in my head for some reason. So I said, hey, I know you got the comic book coming out for Bad Candy later, Nick. So, but he didn't say anything. I
Yeah,
caught
that's
that like
Scott Hansen's movie. We had Scott
yeah,
Hansen on.
like
Yeah.
2 weeks later is when I noticed I did that. I'm like, oh crap. But he still agreed to come on before that. So, but yeah, it's really cool. The story, I don't want to give too much away because it takes multiple turns that you don't expect. It's just wild. But it's about this guy that it's basically he's going to the store to pick up some candy for a girl he's dating because they just had like crazy sex, and he's hanging out with her all day. She wanted chocolate, so he goes to the grocery store to get some chocolate, and he's in the candy aisle and he sees this like crazy old lady who's like zoned out with this kid that's like screaming at the top of his lungs, crying, blah blah blah, and he just like looks at the kid. The kid hands him a piece of candy. Basically, that's like passing the kid off to him from the old lady. I don't want to spoil too much,
Yeah.
but the kid is not what you would expect him to be. And it goes into, I was telling Felix about this because he's hardcore into the Eldritch stuff, right? It goes into that type of story. When you think of like the Eldritch creatures and all that, it's freaking wild. I mean, the cover kind of
Right.
gives that vibe, right? But um, I loved it. I think it's gonna be a really cool comic, so I can't wait to check that out and
Yeah.
talk to
Banged
him.
the table about that book for a couple of weeks now, right? So that
Oh,
you're pumped with that one.
it's the
What
first
did
time I
you
sat through and read a book in one sitting. I mean, again, it's not a huge book, but it's the first thing I've read 75 pages in one sitting, and I don't even know how long. So
Where did you pick it up?
when or where?
Where? Where? Yeah.
Amazon. I don't. Yeah, I I knew he was coming on, and I'm like, I got to get this. I want to read this before the comic because I want to compare the two and see how they did. But I want to read more of his stuff. I actually, he's when you have your like Goodreads app or whatever, you have like your to be read list or whatever. I have a bunch of his books in my list, and I just hadn't gotten to him yet because our show, it's so hard to like read someone that
Yeah.
we're not talking to because you want to prepare for the guest sort of thing, uh, but yeah. So
And it's
again,
not on Audible. I just checked, so you'd have to read it. It's not on
no, it's
Audible.
not. I checked on Audible. He has some stuff on there, I think, but not that. It's and then after that, the next show we have booked, because we have another opening later this month, but we have horror author Kenzie Jennings coming on. So she has a couple horror novels out. I wanted to. It's February is Women's in Horror Month. Women in Horrors Month. I can't even talk
Yeah,
right
I
now.
gotcha. You
You
know,
know, yeah. So I wanted to try to get a few, females on to talk about horror with them. So she agreed to come on. She has a splatter western, which I didn't know what splatter western really meant, but it's like right up my wheelhouse. And her book is on Audible. It's Red Station. I'm listening to it right now. It's a quick book. It's like 150 pages or something like that. Um, but splatter westerns are like horror westerns, with
right?
some gore and action and whatnot. And so she's going to come on at the end of the month. So that'll be cool. So that's some of our upcoming shows there. We got
Man, I would have
lined up.
loved to have gotten Anne Rice on, but she passed away, right? Like, so
Yeah, that would
would
be cool if she agreed to come on. Yeah,
have been amazing. Huge fan of the Vampire Chronicles series. So
yeah.
yeah, yeah, it would have been great. I
Um,
watched the movie the other night 'cause it's on Netflix. We just threw it on. I've seen it like 300 times.
really? Jeez, I
Yeah.
didn't know you were that big of a fan.
No, I just liked it. It's just like the cool film. It's got a good vibe. They hated the casting right when it first came out. She hated Tom Cruise and Brad Pitt as Louis and Lestat. And I thought it was fine. I mean, it doesn't stay true to the book, but
I've never
what
read the book. I've never read Anne Rice. I hate to say it, I never have.
I should read some Anne Rice. I mean, some of the later Vampire Chronicle stuff gets a little like okay, guy, like like with
Well,
any
I'd start with the classics. I'd start with,
yeah,
Interview with the Vampire and Queen of the Damned, and
Vampire Lestat was good.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
the ones
like
I've
those
heard of.
are real solid. Then you get into like the body snatchers or whatever the one was. That one's kind of like
Yeah,
yeah, okay, yeah, all right.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
but Felix is pushing Dan Simmons on me, and I want to read some of his stuff too, because Summer and Night's supposed to be like, he likes it more than it. It's basically one of those coming of age horror novels. I don't even really know the specifics about it. I bought it on Audible, so I got to listen to it. But again, anything that's not a guest coming up has to go to the bottom of the list, unfortunately. Even if I have Brian Keade's new book that came out a couple months ago, and I want to read it so bad, but I'm like, I don't know when I can. So
Richard Mart's got his new Wendy book out.
yeah, and I love the first two Wendy books, and I mean, that's not out yet. That comes out in a couple weeks, but like, I'm not going to be able to read it when it first comes out. I'm going to have to push it back. I haven't even read Stephen King's last book yet. It's been on my dresser for months. Which that never I usually get it the day it comes out, and I'm done within a week. That's just usually how I am with his books. But
I feel like maybe with the events of the world, man, it's like people are home and they just put out material. It's like it's this huge influx of
well,
stuff.
he'll put 2 books out a year. Usually he'll do his like summer book, like late summer, September actually, so I guess closer to fall, because it's always right around my birthday, and I get excited because it's a new Stephen King book to buy for myself. And then he usually puts one out in the spring, like a smaller one or like a collaboration or something. So he has the one with Chismar, and then he has Fairy Tale coming out in September, which sounds cool. Not the most original name, but it's who
Does it have
cares?
to be?
No, I don't care.
No name at this point. If it's Stephen King, it's a cover. Stephen King.
Yeah.
Okay.
You could just call it King.
Yeah. My new book by Stephen King.
Yeah.
Okay.
The cover's cool. It's like a spiral stairwell, and it looks like an eyeball. It's like a kid and a dog going down the spiral stairwell in the center. It's kind of cool, but
Right.
I just went off on like 10 tangents, so I don't even know what we were talking about.
We do.
I was talking about future guests.
Yeah.
Yule 2, though, since we had a question about that, kind of.
It was on the agenda. It's on the agenda.
Yeah, we want to talk about Yule 2, so it's a good time to. I wish you could share your screen. It'd be cool to like give a couple pages.
I don't know if they're on this machine. I could send it to you, and then you can. Let me see if I have anything. I can always text it to you, and then you can put it on there too. For some reason, with this program,
send it in Facebook Messenger if you can.
Okay. Let me see. I got to go back a ways. I don't know why, but for some reason on this platform that we use to stream stuff, it won't allow us to.
No, you know what? You know what I think it is? I don't think it's an admin thing, because when I log in as an admin, it still works. I think it's a tablet thing, like on your iPad.
Oh, okay.
I think
that
might be it.
Yeah, that's plausible. So here, I'll just send this. I'll send over a page. I like this page. This page is cool. Yeah. So where we're at with Yule 2 is that it's done. The penciling is done, and I started inking it, and then all of a sudden we got this offer from Felix Blackwell to do the NFT. So that had a time a deadline that it wanted to be done by, and we wanted to get that too. So we said, okay, well, we got to kind of set this stuff down a little bit to go do that, because that was supposed to have a January release for the NFT, and then the crypto crash happened, and then that got pushed out too. So we're done with the NFT project for now. I hopped back on the coloring of Deadball to get that done, because we want to get that out, and now I can hop back on to the inking of Yule 2. We flirted with the idea of maybe farming out the coloring, but probably not going to. It's probably 90% chance it's going to be me again coloring that. But I absolutely do think we'll farm out the lettering on Yule 2, just because it's an art amongst itself. I can do it, but I'm no Ed. So right, but I don't call a clown to do a plumber's job. So I know my limitations.
No, it's I mean, Yule 1, the lettering was fine, right? But like, I think we've talked about this with other guests, like how important lettering can be. And when I'm telling you right now, when we get Deadball back, we're gonna be like, yeah, we're never going back. Like we're getting a letter every time. One of us could take the time to master it, right? Like I wanted to take some weight off your shoulders, because pencil, ink, color, letter. I'm like, shit, I wrote it. Like I got to add a little bit more to this here. But I'd rather pay someone that's just crushes it. And I know Ed does. Like the lettering in those series is so awesome. And I can't wait to see, he's going to send me a proof of it first before, it's final, obviously, but I can't wait to see what it looks like. But yeah, so I'll share this page here.
So let's set this up real quick before I bring it on. So spoiler alert, turn off your audio or fast forward if you haven't read part one, right? So issue two, well, issue one, we leave it off with, again, giving you time to delay your audio and pause it, not just gathering my thoughts. Spoiler alert. So issue one, Will, the main character, ends up, kind of battling some creatures in the woods. This older looking guy shows up and kind of saves him. Some people have alluded that it's Santa Claus. Well, it's not Santa Claus. It's actually this elf named, what's his name, John? I'm kidding.
You forget now. I know. It's been a while. We've been off Yule for a few months.
So it leaves it at that. So kind of a cliffhanger-ish ending. And you're like, what the heck's going on? And that's by design because we wanted readers to kind of experience what Will's experiencing in the book, right? Because he doesn't know what the hell's going on. He's thrusted into this world, this situation, and this other random guy shows up and it just stops, right? So that was the pacing of the book and why we did it that way. So issue two is really going to start getting into exploring this new world that Will is in with Einar as his guide. So hopefully that sets that up.
Yeah, a lot more dialogue in issue two, a lot more story building. Issue one was basically the kid Will finding this cube and getting teleported to this weird dimension, and half the book was like a chase scene. So there's not much dialogue in issue one. Issue two is really going to be like, all right, this is why you're here. This is what's happening. So this page, me going back to it and zoom in a bit. So these are just makeshift, text bubbles, obviously, for now.
This is actually pencils, believe it or not. This is not inked. It's just a dark pencil. So like things like the speech balloons are just there for me to basically get an idea of where the dialogue would potentially fall, and the letterer could eventually decide they want it somewhere else. But I just needed accommodation for that, and that's something, if you're a new sequential artist, to think about, is that, oh crap, man, I'm gonna have to fit in lettering, and you spend all this time drawing this massively crazy cool detailed panel only to find out that 60% of it's going to be covered in lettering. So make sure you leave accommodation for speech, and it saves you time because you don't have to draw that. So in panel one there, Einar's speech balloon may not be there, or it won't look that dodgy or stodgy anyway, so it'll be tightened up a little bit. But that's just for me, basically, for reference of where it may potentially fall. So I didn't sit there and waste time drawing another tree or whatever. So that's why that's there. So
yeah,
right, yeah.
But yeah, so any text bubbles, just ignore those. Those are just, like you said, just for giving ideas. But
for now, just play. Yeah.
But panel one, I mean, basically, in issue two, I don't want to give too much of the plot away, but we see this Alf explaining who he is, how Will got there, with his cube, what the cube is, and he's telling him a story around the fire behind them there, explaining everything going on. Well, in the middle of the story, they start hearing noises, the clouds are rolling in, and this creature, this flying creature comes in. You can see in panel two, the talons here coming through the clouds. It's a close up there with a crazy bird noise going on.
I just want to stop right there real quick and just pause for a second. So we've talked about back on the show with lettering about, I think we talked with Ian Chase Nickel about it, with how the lettering a lot of times is up on top of the art, on top of the panel, and it doesn't really interact with the panel. So this one is specific. I did the lettering on that because I wanted it to interact with the art that way specifically. So that was a little different, and I think it's kind of cool, and a little bit of I guess an homage or inspiration, I guess, from Joe Bennett with Immortal Hulk when he was doing some of that too. Is putting the lettering actually into the image. So I got it.
So, I don't know why that just happened. Hold on.
Well, we can
Stop
come off.
sharing.
There we go.
Yeah, I got to figure
So
out why I
that's okay.
clicked on the picture. I was trying to zoom in.
Good thing it wasn't on some questionable website that you go to, John. So.
No, well, if it was, it would have been one you sent me. So because this is our chat.
now, now I know to do that on purpose. I'll just send you random stuff so it might pop up on future shows.
What?
Yeah.
Why is?
You need me to
Oh,
resend it?
no, I got it. That was
Okay.
weird. Is that the last time we talked when we were having him on the show, like privately in Facebook? It could be.
Yeah, I don't know if Rosario was on the show yet, so we usually just group chat everybody so we know what the heck's going on. But that might have been right around the time Rosario
Yeah,
was
I have no
coming.
idea what. Anyways,
Who knows?
so
I could have been
yeah,
randomly sent too. That happens. So
yeah, it was his YouTube channel that was what that link was. I don't know. I don't remember what we're talking about, but so by the way, he's an awesome colorist. If anyone was wondering who Ami is there, he does some
unless you want to
crazy.
interview with him, yeah. Previous episode, Ame Remalate was on
Yeah.
prior episode, so check that out. Yeah.
Yeah. Panel 3, obviously them looking up at the sky, and then panel 4, you see the outline of this crazy ass giant bird creature, which I think, people, if they looked at the poster from the Kickstarter, they would see an image of the head a little bit up in the right corner. It's this like eyeless bird, like it's where the eyeballs should be. It's like almost looks like it's sewn shut with no eyeballs. It's kind of creepy looking, like a giant vulture with no eyes, basically.
Yeah.
So the thought there was, these things, because they can't see, they're their strongest when there's clouds rolling in. So when these giant clouds are coming, Einar cuts his story short and says, "We got to go now," because he knows these things exist in this universe. And before they get out of there, you see the talons coming through, you hear the noises, you see the outline. Well, you could probably guess where it's heading. A nice little battle with this monster. For issue 2. Issue 2 is pretty freaking action packed. I think it's definitely takes it up a notch from issue 1, for sure. So
we get the world in there, which is cool. Kind of sets the environment that they're going to be interacting in, and there is a backstory to the birds and why they have no eyeballs and things. So
we got backstories to every character. That's the coolest part. Like we literally have backstories to all the side characters, to the henchmen, to the main villain. The main villain's backstory I fucking love. Like I am so excited about his backstory. Because when I did Scott Snyder's class and he talked about how you just want, you want to feel the villain in his mind or her mind, has they're righteous, right? Like they have a reason for what they're doing, and you can believe in their reason, So when I was thinking of his backstory, I'm like, oh my god, like I love this. This is so cool. It's just gonna tie it all together so good. And this villain is not nice. He's an evil man, but you'll see through his backstory, like, oh, shit, like,
we need a
okay,
reason
yeah,
why
I could actually see why he is the way he is. You almost understand where he's coming from.
Yeah.
But yeah, so issue 2 introduces the villain, other side characters, the henchmen to the villain, explains more of the story. And then the ending of book 2, I cannot, I can't wait for the ending of book 2 for people to get to that, because it's like that scene in my head. I couldn't wait to see that drawn out. So it was cool to see that get drawn.
I
I'm
like
not going
the
to
art
even.
2 better, but I think that's just the artist thing. Is you always like newer
Well,
things,
yeah. I mean,
right?
issue 1 was your first sequential, since you were
Yeah.
obviously younger, but
Since I was like 19. So I mean, God, how many how many decades ago was that? Right. So
yeah.
yeah. But it
But
was cool. But yeah, I think naturally any artist, your newer stuff you always like better than your older stuff. Doesn't matter if it's received by your audience worse, but you always think it's better. I
yeah.
think it's just an artist thing. And yeah.
What's the same with the writing stuff though? Like the short story that I had accepted into a few books, like even when I read it now, I'm like, man, like obviously it was good enough to get accepted, but like I don't know, like I don't, it's not, the character isn't developed that much. I mean, granted, it's a short story, it's 9 pages in a novel, like book size, like it's a small story, it had to be. But I still could have worked better at developing the character so people cared about him. But in my mind, I just wanted this creepy scene, basically, this whole scene to lay out and have it be creepy, which I think it was. I think it was good in that front, but no one gave a shit about the kid because like it's just this, it's a kid walking on the beach. His parents are back drinking at this all-inclusive resort, and he just keeps walking down the beach at night and sees this rocky landscape. So he climbs up on it, and there's like a cave hidden inside it, and he crawls in and hears like this moaning sound. So he thinks some of the guests went in there to get it on, and he's a teenage kid, so he's like wants to check it out. But when he gets in there, it's a body hanging above a fire that's moaning, and there's these like weird like human-like creatures crouched. Yeah, well, what it's in 2 books now, so like if anyone cares enough to read it, they're gonna see it, I guess. But so yeah, I don't know. And like the scene, once I get into the cave, I'm like, all right, this is my element. Like I felt like writing that scene out was a blast. But
it's kind of like that too, though, because you got him into this world, right? So it's like your writing style almost gets people into something, right?
I want,
a world, right? And then what
they talk about, the cover and like the first, not first sentence, although that does have a huge impact, but like the first couple pages got to grab somebody. So like with Deadball, I intentionally, when I wrote that, I started it in the future when shit's just going down and people are going to like start reading the book and be like, what's happening right now? Like, why is this happening? And then
the story, right, that we started with. Yeah.
I really wanted to mess with timelines in Deadball, like starting in the future and then have the transition scene.
Past, which is
future of the storyline. Yeah.
Which was what 90 years ago to now, but really not.
So I was excited to mess around with that, though. I don't know how people do like a lot of the timeline stuff, because I can imagine like doing a novel like that, I would probably lose my damn mind. And I guess I could write it in order and then just like chop it up after, maybe. But yeah, with the book, it was fun. Like I pictured playing around with panels for Deadball, going from like when it transitions from that scene in the future of the story to his past when he's playing baseball. Like I wanted it to transition right into it, and then when it goes back to the future, no pun intended, I wanted the same thing, just a smooth transition to get back there. But
I did some cool coloring effects on that too, like the future has a blue tint to all of the pages, and then his past has like an orange tint. So little secrets of the coloring world. So it's on the entire panel, and it's to give it that sepia tone, old schooly look was really what we're going for on there. So
yeah,
it's cool.
No, I feel like we nailed it. I mean, I feel like the reception's going to be solid on it. I really like it. I don't know. I mean, I just feel like the whole story it's intriguing. People are going to wonder, where it's headed. Issue 2 is pretty damn intense. Rogerio was reading through like the script, and well, as much as he likes to be surprised as he's doing the pages.
So
yeah, it drives me nuts because I want feedback on the script. I want to like know, like, hey, do you think this works, guys?
Usually we do that when we're drawing it. I'm like, John, you got 2 camera angles on this panel. It's not going to work. But it's like, what are we doing?
2 panels, or you got to tell me a different way to do it.
Get both. Get both. What might you're thinking about timeline wise with Deadball? It's probably coming out. After I'm thinking Kickstarter, not to feel that pre-back. It's like you're probably looking at like March, April, maybe, which coincides with the start of baseball season if they get their shit sorted out with the Players Association.
Yeah, they're going to start in a delay. It's inevitable.
So it could be kind of cool though, but historically it would have been just our luck. It would be delayed that the baseball season would be delayed right when our baseball book is coming out. But
no, that's our play. Hey, you guys want baseball and it's delayed right now? We got baseball for you.
There you go. Yeah.
There's only a few pages of baseball in this particular book, but
it really isn't a baseball centric story, right? I mean, people will think about, is this going to be like oh, we're in the sixth inning here. Like, no, no, no. It's like it's really not. It's just about a baseball player. Obviously, there's some baseball references in there, things, but
We
it's
had to
not.
have baseball references in there.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, Oh, real quick, back to Nightmare Alley. It was so cool because when I was writing Deadball, I was researching like language back then, like slang, because I wanted to use some of that in what the dialogue said. And they freaking used some of it in Nightmare Alley. I'm like, yes. Like I had to pause it when I was watching it with my wife, and I was like, hey, I got that in Deadball. Like when they say like um, everything's Jake, like
Yeah.
that means like everything's okay, right? They said that in Deadball, and I had the umpire in Deadball when he's breaking up the brawl. He's like, I forget exactly what he said, but something like everything Jake out here, like we got a game to play, like so just it was cool. But there's some crazy slang from back then.
Right.
Yeah, like when they're in the brawl, like one of the players is like, "Get your meat hooks off of me," because they used to say meat hooks all the time. When they're fist, But what did they?
Whippersnappers.
Yeah, I forgot what they called prison. Like jail. It was like it's just a weird word. I used it in the book, but I can't remember it off the top of my head. But I didn't go crazy with the slang because I want people to understand what the hell they're saying. But I wanted to throw some of it in just to like honor it a bit and like get that vibe out there. But um, it's not going to feel like you're watching like a Time Warner Classic movie. Like, what are you doing over here? Like, it's not like that.
You guys
But
talking fast with hats on, like,
yeah,
here,
yeah,
how about
yeah. Um, but yeah, so tangents again. I'm just trying to think of what
no,
the hell.
we're talking about your book, so it's a good segue to that. So you have the short story, you have a novel in the works too, right? Or that's
The
coming too.
novel's done, man. I'm excited. Like, so I've done a couple drafts of the novel. I'm handing it off to an editor next week. So I'm just finishing up the third draft, if you will, of my own before I hand it to him. He was like, "Don't worry about that. I work with people at all skill levels. Like, I work with people that have never done any writing before. That's my job. That's what you're paying me for." I'm like, I don't want to hand you something that you're gonna have to spend a bunch of time telling me to fix the basics on. Like, I want to do as much as I can. So when I hand it to you, like you're like putting like a nice bow on this story. Like, I want what I need help with because I'm still pretty green and raw with it is my prose. Like thinking of certain language as I'm writing it, I can think of a cool story, and that's where comics really help because I don't have to worry about my prose there. But as I'm writing a scene out, and I use this editing software just to see if I use certain words too much or whatever, or passive tense type conversations when I don't mean to be. And I do a lot of that stuff that like rookie writers do. So I'm like trying to catch all that stuff before I hand it to him because, uh, you know, I know that stuff. Like I know that I do that, and I want to fix that before he gets it because I want him to come back to me with, "Hey, this is what you need to do," and I'll be like, "Shit, yeah, you're right. Like I didn't think of that." I want it to be something that I wouldn't be able to try to figure out on my own. I'm willing to put the hours in up front, but yeah. So um, the book's done. It's the cover's done. I hired an editor already. I've hired a formatter. Basically, I didn't even know there was such a thing as that. If Josh Marcella is still watching, I owe him a ton of gratitude. He's getting a thanks in the book because he literally has helped me. He introduced me to my cover artist. He introduced me to my editor, my formatter. Like he basically helped me with like just talking through people he knows that do it and like giving good word of mouth sort of thing. And
What
uh,
does a editor do?
it basically formats it to fit in a novel size. So like
So like, here's where the chapter should end. This is where the one should
or like
begin.
well picture like so a Word document, right? It's wide, like the book page is much narrower than a Word document. So
Okay.
they have to format it to fit whatever dimensions you want. So like when you self-publish, like Kindle KDP is through Kindle, it's through Amazon. Basically, self-publishing is not easy from a promotion standpoint. You have to like really put the hours in there. But as far as actually wanting to put your own book out, they have print on demand. So like literally, I don't need to order thousands of books and have them sit in my basement and not sell them to anybody. I can upload my book to KDP after I have it formatted, which I have no idea how to do. Josh was telling me there's a software, a couple $100, and you could learn it and do it yourself. And I'm like, I'd rather pay someone. I don't want to. I just want to write and
Group
promote.
formats too, but
Yeah,
I'm at that point. Like, no,
yeah. So, well, and so so basically, once it's formatted, you upload it to KDP. You have to choose the dimensions you want before it's formatted, so they know how to format it. But so the standard size book is the book that I keep holding up. This is the standard KDP size. This is like the industry standard size. I kind of prefer the smaller book because that's what I grew up on, the smaller paperback. So like I got this book by another guy that we're going to have on sometime, spoiler alert.
yeah,
It's a smaller book. If you,
yeah. Remember how tiny paperbacks were, man?
yeah. So
They
you
were
see
like your pocket. Yeah,
the difference in size. It's not a huge
report.
difference.
Yeah,
Like you can see that, but that adds up. That difference
right.
in the top here, it's going to make the book thicker, obviously, which I want. Just because I want to hold my book in my hand and have it feel nice and thick.
Throw it at
Uh,
somebody's weapon.
yeah,
Like if you have to. Yeah,
but you can format it to whatever size you want. They have the different options when you upload it. And then like once you upload the cover and the pages and all that, like literally you can put it on your author page and it's there. Like you can start promoting it and people buy it and Amazon prints it for you and sends it to them. So they give you your own UPC, your own what's the number? What's it called? I was gonna say
IBM,
ISBN. Yeah, I was
IBM.
gonna say ISBN. That's a bond number. My fixed income days. Yeah, IBN number.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's so Josh helped me a ton with all that stuff. And so yeah, now it's just a waiting game. Like the plan, if it doesn't get picked up, all along I planned to self-publish this book. That was just my first book. I wanted to make a name for myself, show that I could get sales promoting myself and whatever, and then go to publishers with my second book, which is what Felix did, and he talked about that with us offline. And but then I saw this opening, for a company that I follow, and I'm like, why not? Sure, I submitted it to them. We'll see. I mean, it's going to go up against a bunch of people, but if they picked it up, then it's up to them when they release it. But if I end up self-publishing it still, I'm going to shoot for a summer release. That's the goal. So
Can people pre-order it on Amazon too?
they will be able to. They can't yet. No, like I want to make sure it's ready to go. But so basically, once the editor hands it back to me, I have no idea how long it takes him to edit a 70,000 page manuscript. That equates
No,
to like 260
thousand
pages.
word, not page.
What?
You
No, I
said
said 70,000 words.
70,000 page manuscript.
Yeah, yeah. No, I got a huge ass book. No,
That's
70,000 words. Sorry. So
so,
that equates to like,
so-
yeah, depending on the dimensions, like that's probably like a 250 to 275 page book, which is a slightly smaller than average novel size. That one again, hold it up one more time. This book is like 220 something pages. It's a good. That's fine. Like,
That's a good length for us ADD guys. That's
well,
perfect.
this day and age too, novellas are like blowing up right now because think about YouTube and streaming and all that. Like short attention spans, the shorter stories that pack a punch are like, a lot more sought after right now than the huge ass freaking 1,000 page novels. That granted, 1,000 pages is excessive, but like even a 500-600 page
Yeah.
novel is not like the biggest thing anymore. I'd love
We
to write
talked
one.
about that, right? With who was that was saying? We had a guest on who was saying about the scale down. Like he actually had
That
to
was
scale.
Ron O'Kelly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. Yeah, they scale it up to 500 or 600. He said it was hard. He said that finding my sweet spot around 350.
Yeah,
Is
and his books now too are like his new books. I ordered his new book that I don't have yet, but like putting out like 150 to 200 page books. Like that's not frowned upon anymore, especially with all these like smaller publishers out there that it's and think about the cost to them, like how much better it is because a lot of them still use KDP. Even though they're publishing, they're still using Amazon software, so they don't hold inventory. It's print on demand, so they're not paying out the ass to get all these copies and, have all this risk on them. It's, you're paying them to likely, depending on the publisher, like to format it for you, edit it for you, promote it for you, put it on their website, stuff like that. But I don't know. So yeah, by the way,
that's the size I'm thinking of. That's the size. Yeah.
So I bought this. So after we had Ronald on, he's in some of the horror groups I'm in on Facebook. And this is his like big book. This is the one that he's really known for from back in the 90s. Someone posted this cover on Facebook and I'm like, I need that. So I found it on eBay. I got it for like $18. And I sent a picture to Ronald. He's like,
glare on it.
Yeah, you can't see it good, but it's like these like bodies.
Oh
like
yeah,
in a
like
cave.
in a like a cocoon or something.
Yeah, in a cave. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's one of my favorite books. So I had to have that cover. I think I only had it on Kindle back in the day, but so I sent him a picture of that and he's like, send it to me, I'll sign it. I'm like, okay, I'll do that. I'll pay for the shipping to have you sign an OG copy.
Yeah, to and from.
Yeah.
Now you're talking about short stories too. You also did some anthology stuff too, right? On top of all these other things you got going on.
For prose, well, yeah, I had the one story that I did. It's in 2 anthologies, and then I did for comics.
Those are out now.
One of them is. I mean, it's the same story. So the story behind that is I submitted it to the first book. And months went by, I didn't hear anything, and I was tweaking it all along because I wanted it to get better, and I hadn't heard anything. So I submitted it to the second publisher, thinking I just didn't get in. And then the first publisher came back and was like, "Hey, we want your story." And I'm like, "Oh shit!" I just submitted it to another publisher, and they said it's cool, it's fine, whatever. These are smaller publishers; they're not like, Penguin or something that's like, nope, like contract's breached. But so I reached out to the second publisher, Darklit Press, that's going to be putting it out later this month. And I was like, hey, I submitted this to you after them because I thought they didn't pick it up, and they just told me they took it. And he was cool. Andrew's awesome. He's like, if they're cool with it, I'm cool with it. We'll put it in. And it's a slightly different version of the same story. It's just extended a bit. It's tightened up a bit. So I'm like, cool. Like I submitted this to 2 places and it got accepted at both. Like that's cool. Yeah. But even when I read it, I still feel, and I give them credit because they want to introduce new authors. Both of the publishers that I submitted to, I knew they were trying to get new names out there. So I felt like I had a chance. But when I read the story, I feel like you can tell I'm a new author, and I hate that about it. Like I love the idea of the story and I love, the execution of certain parts of it, but I still can't help feel that. And now that I got a lot of that behind me, like when I was writing my novel and I've read it back like 3 freaking times because I have to for editing. I'm like, I feel like this is freaking good. Like I feel like, especially once an editor gets this in their hands and they like tighten it up for me and I like fix everything else, like I feel like it's a pretty badass book. Like I'm excited. So I wanted to, what the hell is it? I'll share, hopefully my cover artist doesn't get mad at me. And if the publisher picks it up, hopefully they don't get mad at me, but I haven't shared the cover yet. And the text is not official.
This is on the novel, right? This is on the novel.
Yeah. Sorry. I wanted to share it when we were talking about it.
What's the novel about, high level, without spoiling?
Yeah, high level. It's a coming of age type story. I mean, the main group of characters is a group of kids that are 15. They're based off my group of friends growing up. I even use their actual names. So it's kind of hits home a bit. The main character was loosely based on me, but when you read it, I'm a boring person. Apparently, I had to spice up this main character, so I had to add some drama to his life that I didn't have as a kid. So he's an abused kid. I was not. I was not abused. So sorry, Dad.
Not an autobiography. Yeah.
No. Yeah. Sorry, Dad. Because the dad's not nice to the main character. But basically in the late 70s, and a lot of this is really based off my hometown. In the 70s, there was a serial killer in my hometown. That is a true fact. They made an Unsolved Mysteries episode based on the serial killer. Now he did the surrounding towns too. Like he was the area. It wasn't like he was just Newport, New
Right.
Hampshire, but the Unsolved Mysteries episode focused on Newport, my hometown. There was a couple um, different stories on that one episode about Newport. So that always fascinated us as kids. And I knew that like I wanted to like use a main group of kids based off my friends. And I'm like, shit, like we had a serial killer. Like, what can I do with that? The serial killer was, like he killed like nurses and like younger girls or whatever. And
Typical, right? Yeah,
typical,
typical.
right.
Right.
And I didn't want to go there. Like I didn't want to like glorify that per se, but so I was like, well, okay, so in the 70s, a serial killer, terrorized the town. He gets captured, which I don't even think the real serial killer ever get captured, to be honest.
I never caught him.
No,
That's
I don't
probably
think
one
so.
unsolved mystery, right? Makes
Yeah,
sense.
yeah, yeah. So in the book, though, he does get captured, and then that's in the epilogue spoiler, and then it shoots into the 90s when I was a kid, and it's this group of kids out in the woods filming a horror movie, which we did all the time as kids. Well, the main character stumbles across this like weird creepy grave out deep out into the woods behind the cemetery, and it's like this mounded dirt with like these obsidian stones around it and like sticks covering it that's like hidden in the tall grass. And so they mess around with it a bit, and one of the kids moves the stones out of the way, like messing around. Well, he ends up. I always give the whole fucking book away. So basically, he
Some
ends
bad
up.
but these kids, right? There you
Yeah,
go.
something bad happens to this kid. He's not the main character, a side character, because he touched the grave. Well,
Yeah.
that unleashes this evil on the town, and you find out, through the story that the serial killer was really just part of what was going on, and there's more to this guy that was arrested as a serial killer. There's a deeper story as to what he was doing and why. And these kids are trying to uncover this. And one of the side characters has shit going on because he touched the grave. I won't give too much away there. And then, you know, um, basically it all leads up to the end scene. I wanted it to take place around Halloween just because I love horror stories that are not Halloween themed. Like it's not like a jack-o'-lantern serial killer type thing, but it's like Halloween's going on around them, sort of thing. It's fall, like the foliage, and it all builds up to this big Halloween homecoming at the high school that they're going to throw. As this evil entity is growing stronger throughout the book, it all leads up to this huge climax at the school where there's hundreds of freaking students and she's at her full strength basically. So they have to defeat her, and so that probably gave too much away without giving it all away. But there's some hidden stories as to what led to where it's at, some stuff that gets, because at first when I was thinking of the idea, I felt like it was very straight lined, like people would figure it all out. And I'm like, I gotta like have some like stuff weaving in
Yeah.
here that like
And turns
throws them
and
off that they might not see coming. So I don't know. I think it's really cool. It's gory. There's some funny parts. There's some heart to it. It's one of the main characters is based off one of my friends that unfortunately committed suicide after high school. And so it was tough to write those scenes because I was telling my other friends, I'm like, I wanted to kind of honor him a bit, in the book. So, um, there's a scene where it's basically, we never got to talk to him at the end, right? Like we never got to tell him we were sorry that like we weren't there for him when his dad died, and he was all alone by himself, and we didn't know he had these demons in his head, sort of thing, right? So I intentionally wanted to write a scene where we basically were apologizing to him for that without saying that, right? Like basically it's us, telling him, sorry we weren't there for you, like, blah blah blah, so there's some like deep stuff like that that's kind of hidden in there too. But it's it's a pretty freaking I would say to try to compare it to like there's some 80s slasher vibes to it, but there's also some possession type stuff in there, so it's kind of a mixed bag with the type of horror that that was intentional. Like I wanted to pull from the stuff that I loved, like Blair Witch came out right around that time from when this story takes place, and I throw a nod to that movie in there, when one of the kids is in the movie store, going to rent the Unsolved Mysteries tape to do some research. He walks by the new releases and sees Blair Witch Project, and he's like, "Oh hell no," because they had just already uncovered the grave and shit out in the woods. So I tried to throw some hints of 90s nostalgia in there without like freaking throwing it down people's throats,
Yeah.
shoving it down the throats. Like
It's
some
got
of
a
the
little
music.
Stand By Me vibe with the kids, like that relationship.
Kinda, yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, so like the kid, my friend Kyle that passed away, like he was overweight, and he got picked on a lot for it, even by us, and that's part of what we feel bad about. But we all ribbed each other like friends
Right.
do, He picked on
Right.
me just as much as I
Right.
picked on him. But
Sure.
so like there's a lot of that banter in there from the kids, and some of the stories in there are true, like from like when we used to hang out with Kyle and his dad. His dad was a funny guy, and like some of the lines from his dad were stuff he actually said to us that cracked us up and embarrassed our friend, like, because his dad said that shit to us. Like there's a line where I changed it up a little bit, but like I went to see a movie with Kyle and his dad. It was Resident Evil, and you see some nipples in the movie, and his dad, we were in the movie theater. He leans over to me, and like Kyle's like sitting in between us. He's like, "Look at those nipples. You could hang a bucket off those things." And my friend Kyle was like traumatized, like, "Dad, shut the fuck up." So like I use that line in the book, not in a movie theater, but I'm like, I have to use
Yeah.
that because like, and there's just stuff like that, like his dad would say, kind of perverted, that used to embarrass the shit out of Kyle, that we all cracked up at. So like, I tried to like throw some of that in there to make people laugh, but um, yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's because when you think of like coming of age books, you think of like freaking giant ass books because it's like kids going through their whole shit. But this takes place over a span of a week, so it's only 250-ish pages. But and pacing was like super important to me. Like I didn't want it to bog down in any parts. I didn't want to add pages to add pages. But I also didn't plot it out like most authors I feel like I talk to don't anymore. They just kind of have an idea of where they want it to get to, and they let the characters freaking develop it as they go. Um, so yeah. Sorry, I haven't talked about it anywhere yet, so I'm excited.
No, it's like
uh,
I'm interviewing you.
yeah.
Is it a standalone story, or could it be part of a larger story arc?
Oh, of course, I think larger. Like I
Yeah.
intentionally left some questions in there because I have a whole prequel in my head as I was writing it. Like when in the 70s, when like the killer was there. So intentionally mentioned a couple scenes from back then, like the kids are reading newspaper clippings from back in the 70s about the murder scenes, and I kind of picture bringing that to life a bit, in a prequel. Um, and I don't think there would be like a trilogy or anything. I just had a prequel idea in my head that I thought would be super cool, and I intentionally left like breadcrumbs there for that. So, um, but we'll see, and we'll see how the first book does, because my second book I already bought the cover for, so I have to write that next. But
Yeah. Alt cover or something, right? Yeah.
yeah, I'm excited about. I mean, that story is going to be awesome too. I can't wait for that one. But I wanted to share the cover again. The
Yeah.
text is a work in progress. I was talking to the cover artist about how I wanted to kind of have the text kind of be part of the image, like the fog maybe going through the letters a bit or something like that. I like it when it interacts. But let me pull it up here. Um,
So the
where
moral of the story is that we've been busy with some things, right?
Yeah, well, with the delay, like you were
Yeah.
cranking hard on the NFT, and like my stuff on the NFT comes in the end, right? So like I was working on that towards the end more, but in the meantime, I'm like, well, what am I going to do? Like, I'm not going to write more comic books because at this point we weren't ready to farm out other artists. We already have Rogerio. I didn't want to put a third series out there yet. I mean, I do, but I'm trying to be hold off on that for now.
We need to keep it in check and
Yeah,
not, overplay our hand and have too much things moving and end up doing
yeah,
30% of, everything and 100% of nothing. So that's
yeah.
always a problem too.
So
So
bottom line is like, I'm like, all right, well, it's now or never. Like, I can't stop writing. And I wanted to write a novel. I was ready to try it. I had short stories picked up, so I was excited that, hey, maybe my writing's not that bad, right? So like,
yeah,
but the
yeah,
cover is, I'll zoom in. I don't know if I can. Or can you make that full screen actually? Maybe that'll make
yeah,
it bigger.
yeah.
Well, that doesn't help at all, did it? So, oh, come on.
I think it's bigger than what we see for people watching, hopefully. So
Ah,
yeah, there you go.
yeah. So, um, it, the cover artist is, his name is Seth Barnes. He's UK based, I believe, because he's a handful of hours ahead. He's overseas, but again, Josh introduced me to this guy, and his stuff is crazy. I showed you the first cover I bought from him, which I love. That was a pre-made cover. I just fell in love with the cover, but this one he made specific for me. So um, if I zoom in here, this is the grave site where the body was buried that they came across, but you can see the obsidian stones with
Oh yeah.
the crazy designs on them, and those are protection sigils. So they I can't get in. I was like, I want some autumn leaves in there because it takes place in the fall, so he adds some of those throughout. But in the book, the cemetery is not right there, but the
Yeah.
idea was to get the idea
Yeah.
in there that, hey, it's behind the cemetery, kind of. But yeah. So the
The
only
different.
thing, sorry.
The, oh, it's gonna just before I lose my thought. The protection stones come from our conversation with like Jack Kenna when we were talking about that.
Not Jack, no. So Nick is going to get a nod in the book too, in the thank you
Oh
page,
yeah, yeah.
because
Nick did talk about those too. That's right.
well, but I've been chatting with Nick on the sideline a ton. He's helped me a bunch with some of the demonic stuff, with some of the witchcraft stuff. He's the one that was talking about the obsidian stones with the these certain designs for protection. So he helped with that stuff a lot. I was like, I would throw scenarios at him. By the way, I kind of like the title. I had a different title in mind that I found out was already being used for a book that was about to be released, so I had to give it up. But
Okay.
um, the initial title was Blackheart, and that's because the serial killer was known as the Blackheart Killer, and that's because his name was Henry Black, and the victims were all found with their hearts ripped out of their chest. So once they captured him, they deemed him the Blackheart Killer. So I was like, oh, sweet, I'll just name it Blackheart. That sounds cool. But then literally on Twitter, like 2 days later, someone was like, here's my new novella, and I'm like, son of a bitch. So I was like, it took forever to come up.
Yeah.
Yeah, but this title actually has more meaning though, because it's obviously the cursed among us. There's a curse on the town, but the characters have their own curses. The main character is an abused kid. The heavy set kid. He gets picked on all the time. So the kid that gets in contact with the grave, he's got a bunch of shit going on the side. So like it's fitting. So I'm actually happy with the title. But
Gotcha.
um, so what was I doing? Yeah, so Nick has helped me a ton with that stuff. I would shoot him scenarios in Messenger. I'm like, hey, with a witch or shit. Yeah. Spoiler alert. There's like witch stuff involved in there. Be like, hey, could this happen? In this scenario, like, would this be realistic? And he would like, so you'd be like, kinda, like, it's a cool idea, but I would, you would want to do this too. So that was cool. Like, that was super helpful.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But yeah, so yeah, that's enough
Awesome.
about my book. But yeah,
Oh,
I'm excited.
yeah, I'm glad we could show people that we've actually been doing things and we're not just sitting here, hanging out like, oh, cool, like, we're gonna be lazy and like not put out Yule 2 and Deadball. It's like, no, man, we've had a couple things going on. So on top of life and the holidays and all that other
Yeah.
stuff this time of year, right?
I feel like, Livid was opening a door for us, really. Like we, as much as we want to do comics, that's obviously what Livid is. It's a comic company. It expanded into us getting other opportunities, and we're not going to say no to that. We see a bigger picture here, right? Like, I want to write books. We want to explore these other avenues that are not comics that could benefit us. And we'll never stop doing comics. Like, we want to do comics. So
Or right, it's the center, and then it
yeah.
kind of side. Yeah.
Granted, it's taken us longer to get comics out because we're really trying to just explore every avenue. But I mean, we're networking with so many people. Like, we have a lot of opportunities that could come to the forefront, in the next year or two. And like, they're crazy cool opportunities that I don't know, like, we wouldn't get those opportunities if we just focused on what we were doing short term, right? Like, we have to think bigger picture. So yeah, some of that stuff, it may not happen, some of it may, but it's there. It's a potential possibility for us. So uh so like, I've told you and Rosario, like, there's like 2 or 3 more comic series that I have like outlines for that I want to do so fucking bad. But
I have 50 sci-fi that I want to do. Right. I mean, that's
yeah,
part of. Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like deep down, like, unless we, obviously, if we're super successful with the 2 series we have going, it can afford us to do a bit more because we will farm out more. But for now, I mean, Yule and Deadball are center stage with our comics, but there's a part of me that wants to introduce a 3rd series somewhere in there, and not wait till all 5 or 6 issues of Deadball and Yule are done before we introduce
Oh, I don't
something
think
new.
we will. I don't think we will. I
Yeah.
think the third. It's just how do we pace it, right? So I want to do like, obviously it'd be really hard for us to have 2 or 3 like Kickstarters going on at the same time, trying to promote those right on different shows and not have one take away from the other. So you kind of gotta put them like this, not like this. They got to kind of stagger
Yeah.
out. So that pacing, and that's a big part of our current marketing strategy is obviously the Kickstarter platform. That's where we can do a lot of sales and get new eyes on projects and things. So we have to consider that for now. Maybe some year eventually it's just on our own platform we're selling everything and we don't have to do Kickstarter. And then we can line up books to all come out Marvel
Oh, that would
style.
be ideal. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Right. So right now we have to crutch on that a little bit. So we have to stagger these. So I would say like Deadball, Yule 2, probably Deadball 2 would be at that point, and maybe somewhere in there, the Yule 3-ish, Deadball 3-ish, another thing pops in. So that way, when those run their course, issue 4, 5, 6, the other one's still going with 3, 4, 5, 6, right? So
But it
those
would likely involve us, hiring on a 3rd artist too, right?
yeah,
Because, like,
yeah, yeah.
we have day jobs. They're not going anywhere anytime soon. We have solid day jobs. We're not going to just give them up. Like, we can't. But yeah, I mean, it's right now. Deadball 2 is written. You have Yule 2 already drawn, but
That's
Deadball's
basically
written. There's no rush on Roger starting Deadball 2 art because, like, we haven't even sold Deadball 1 yet. So, like, for the sake of him, wanting to get to work on that, I think he'd be ready to go if we said do it. But like we said, staggering it, just there's no rush on drawing it yet. But he has it in his hand, ready to go. And then Yule 3 is already outlined. So, like, I just got to script it, which once I have it outlined, that's what takes the most time. Scripting doesn't take nearly as long for me because I already have it, kind of page by page outlined. So it's just coming up with dialogue and panel descriptions. But it's all the stories there. Um, so those are already ready to go. And then it's a matter of, okay, then do I want to write Deadball 3, or do I want to write the 3rd series that I'm itching to do before someone steals the idea? There's a couple of them, but yeah.
And then
So
coming up, this year I see us doing more cons as things start to open up and settle down.
yeah,
That's on our radar. Obviously, you mentioned before, you want to go down to like the Scares That Care in Maryland, right, and do that.
yeah.
So we hopefully will be out in the world a little bit more. So
I hope so. Yeah,
yeah,
that's 2 months away though. So, and I haven't bought tickets, so I got to get on that if I'm gonna do it. There's so many guests that we've had on that are gonna be there. I'm like, man,
No,
this seems like a wasted opportunity to not go down there. But I don't know. I want to do it. It's not a bad drive. I mean, that's basically once you.
just fly down.
No, I don't. I like the. I grew up doing road trips to Florida every year.
90-minute flight, dude, on JetBlue. You'll be down in Towson, Maryland, and drinking, Pabst Blue Ribbon and having crabs and vinegar, blue crabs and vinegar.
Jeez. Yeah.
You'll be there in no time. Yeah, you can have dinner there tonight. You'll be there by the end of the night. So.
My dream was to have my book like in hand to bring down there so I could hand it out to some of these authors that I admire, that I've talked to on the show. Just give it to them in person, but I don't think it's realistic to. I have no idea how long it's going to get an editor or take an editor to get that back to me and have me fix and then get it to KDP and print. I have a feeling it's probably not realistic to expect that in 2 months, 2.5 months.
Do a Xerox copy with some staples in it.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll get right on reading that.
Like the one Chevy Chase's wife throws into the fire on Funny Farm, like when they go out there.
Yeah.
He gives her his manuscript and she says it's terrible and he throws it in the fire.
Yeah,
like that,
exactly.
Those brass, whatever pegs that they put
together.
Yeah. Just hand it off to Brian Keene. They're like, here, read this. What?
Yeah. I want, Ron O'Kelly said he wanted to read it. Like that was kind of like, man, that's exciting because I love his stuff so good. And when it's one of your authors that you grew up reading, like Ron O'Kelly was, like he said, like he inspired Brian Keene. Brian Keene inspired me, but then like Ron O'Kelly told Brian Keene that he inspired him to get back into writing. So it was just like this full circle thing. So I'd be super excited if they read it, and then if they shit on it, I'd be like, okay,
I guess
I got thick skin
on it than not read it at all. That's kind of cool.
I'd rather get actual negative feedback from them than just have them dodge it. Like I have thick skin, and I'm very self-aware. Like I understand my first story. It was good enough to get published and I'm excited about that, but I understand it's not like the master class of writing. Like I'm not there yet. And I don't know if I ever will be from a prose point of view. I just want to tell a cool story and get to the point where, people dig it, so I don't know. We'll see. But
always do it yourself first, right? That's really what a creative stuff. That's all.
Yeah. As I see some of these horror authors that are like in these groups, they're like, I'm gonna take a break from horror. I don't want to be just known as a horror author. And I'm like, fuck that. Like I do. That's what I want. Like that's my passion. Like I don't. Maybe I'll someday want to write something else. But like Brian Keene wrote Terminal, and it's freaking great. It's one of my favorite books by him. See, I knew I had one over here. I've shared it. Yeah. So this is not a horror novel, and he told us on the show, I think, or maybe it was in a private message, but that this book was one of his worst selling books. And he was basically told it was going to be his next big thing. Like that was going to get him on the market, get his name out there, and it bombed. But it is, I bought that and I've read most of it. It's one of my favorite books by him. It's so well done. And, it's about a character that has terminal cancer and, they're broke. So he's trying to find ways to get money for his family before he dies. And so it's more of a thriller type book. But anyways,
some of these guys use pen names to release different. Some of the people we've had on, we don't give away their alter ego, but they write under different names for like romance novels or comedies or whatever they feel like they want to flex on. They can just they don't want to deviate from their established name in like horror author world, but they want to write a romantic comedy because they just got to get that out of them, but they don't want to put it on.
Well, I can promise you I'll never have a pen name for erotica novels because like I can't, even when I read a sex scene, I'm looking over my shoulders like feeling like I'm a dirtbag. But like my wife's gonna be like, what are you reading? Like that 2 lines that talks about thrusting or something.
What do they say? Take your pet you had, your first pet as a child's name, and then the street you grew up on, and that's your porn star name, right? So Mine would have been Chewy Chesterfield. Would have been my porn star.
You want
That
to
could
know
be
mine?
my erotica author name is Chewy Chesterfield. Yeah.
Well, mine would be Butch Coombrook.
You'd have to
Yeah,
do just the stash in your picture,
yeah,
and right? Yeah, like this
yeah,
this picture with just the stash. Like,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. That's definitely. I'd be wearing a freaking raccoon hat, like Davy Crockett.
yeah, with the wife beater shirt on.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. We had the
awesome.
freaking Coombrook Road. Yeah. So yeah, so my book is based off my hometown. I don't know, like I used the real names of my friends. Initially I had the real names of a lot of the teachers and stuff, and I'm like, I better tweak that. Some of them are fairly close. And let's face it, like basically most of the teachers are nothing like the real teachers, and they were real teacher names, and like the description of them is similar, but like the stuff that happens in the book that never happened. Like
Yeah,
there's literally probably nothing true about the teachers outside of like their description in the book. The story would have been boring. I had my teachers were boring, normal, fun teachers. Like I just there's nothing like weird about them. But I mean, everyone has that teacher, but
there's like a handful. There's like a handful that are cool, and then like there's a handful that are assholes, and then the others like you just totally forget. I think everybody's got
yeah,
that. Yeah, like who was my seventh grade
dude.
social studies teacher? Like, God, I don't even know.
No,
Like,
it's so funny you say that because my wife and my brother, I don't know where I was, but they were talking about that and they couldn't remember any of their teachers. And
yeah,
apparently my wife said to my brother before I got in the room, like, John's the type of guy that would know that. And I come in the room and my wife was like, "Who's your kindergarten teacher?" And I just said her name right away. And then
yeah.
they went through every grade and I knew them all. And they're like, "You're
Oh.
freaking weird." And I'm like, I don't know. I
know the
just,
cool ones. I know the assholes, but I don't know the middle, the middle ground ones. Like, it's weird. Yeah,
yeah. I'm
but you get
terrible with
like
names. I don't know how I remembered them, but
three that are really prolific and they're just awesome, and they, the ones you want to hang around with after class ends, and like that, they're so cool and insightful. And I remember some of those teachers like that, and they'd really let their hair down after all the kids filed out. It was just you and them, and they'd
yeah,
be dropping f-bombs and shit. Like,
yeah,
yeah, it's
yeah. I
like
mean,
cool. Yeah, yeah,
the one of the teacher that's the most important to the plot in the book was based off my real film teacher. To an extent, and like there's certain dialogue in there that was real, like certain stuff people said, like in class that was real that I remembered. He was very quirky and like had interesting mannerisms, just like a high energetic guy. So like I tried to like get that across a bit, but um, yeah. So there's some truth there, but like his backstory is definitely, at least I doubt, would be anything like what I wrote in the book, as far as like why he was in the town or anything like that. So
we had this
um,
we had this asshole English teacher, and man, like, so he would give us these books to read, and they were just shit books. Like, they were nothing good. Like, it wasn't, whatever, To Kill a Mockingbird or anything prolific like that or anything. It was just crap. And then I think it was like they always gave these classes like some dumb name to make it sound better than it was, right? It'd be like, reading comprehension and writing achievements, or something. That was your class name or something. It's English class. Okay?
yeah,
Like, let's not let's call a spade a spade. And so he would put these little stupid novels that really just suck, and then he would have like a quiz on the retention of what you read. Could you retain what you were reading? And the questions would be like, what was the color of Charlie's jacket when he entered in the diner? Like a barely passing, non had no major factor in the story whatsoever, right? Just an adjective that was thrown into the
all
story,
right,
right? And so everybody failed these tests because, like, I don't know what the fuck his jacket was colored, like, and that was all the test was like designed specifically to try to get kids to fail. And I remember a good friend of mine that that's the teacher that finally broke him, and he dropped out of high school because he was sick of dealing with shit like
Oh
that.
man.
Like, I'm done. Like, I'm not dealing with this. And he went on to be okay. He had a good career with things, and he's doing okay. But yeah, it just takes one asshole like that teacher to really like
Yeah.
screw up a kid's aspiration.
Yeah.
And nobody passed that stuff. It wasn't like we weren't getting the material. It was designed for you to fail, and he
Yeah.
enjoyed it. He enjoyed making kids fail. He was an asshole.
So
Yeah.
messed up. Yeah.
It really was. Like, this guy was on a power trip. He wasn't the picture of health, that kind of guy. So
Yeah.
yeah, he was really pissed off at life and wanted to make other people have a hard life too because he sucked at life. So
Yep.
yeah, yep.
Oh man.
Yep. So
And
you
then
remember that guy? Remember the cool ones, right? So
yeah, and then like certain substitutes, like there's you feel bad for some of those because they would just get ragged on. I mean, I was a good student. Like, I wasn't like a troublemaker, but I threw my substitute teacher's lunch in the trash once just to be a dick. Because she snapped at me once about something. When she walked, threw her lunch in the trash.
This guy was a total jerk, right? He was just another jerk, different guy. And like, he was like on lunchroom duty, and he had like his briefcase down there open, and he was just busting your balls kind of guy. Just an asshole. And so I remember we went up there one time and we like poured like canned peaches into his briefcase while we were going to the trash can. So we like filled his briefcase with those like wet, the school cafeteria wet peaches. Like,
Oh God.
we filled that thing. We, like 4 or 5 of us went up there and just dumped them all in.
Now you look back, you're like, I was such a dick. Yeah, like,
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't do too many things like that, but like, why would I throw her lunch away? Like, she snapped at me. It was her lunch bag was on the corner of her desk, and she left the room for a second, and I was I thought I was cool, and just threw it in the trash and covered it up with stuff. Yeah, so like if she was gonna take it out, she was gonna have to dig.
Dig.
I'm freaking badass over here. But anyways, that's probably a good spot to end it. Talking
Yeah.
about our
Little limerick.
teachers. Yeah. So we did
Cool.
an update on Deadball, Yule, some other shit. So next week, show 50. It'll be fun.
Yeah.
Very, very loosely based. There's no agenda. It's going to be a lot of faces. So
Never is. Never is.
Yeah.
Cool.
And then after that, we'll have Keelan on to talk sour candy, not bad candy. And I feel like the once a week show thing's been great because it gives us a full week to pump up the show, like promote the show we just had. Like when we were doing like 2 shows a week, it was tough to promote the new show and the one we did because you have to like toggle it a bit, but juggle it. But yeah, so we'll be back next week.
Yeah, it should be fun. So yeah, thanks for that. And yeah, Deadball's coming soon, guys. So it's good. We're meeting with Scotty this weekend, I think, at some point to talk about trailers. So
shoot, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and the digital book will be in our hands next week. Done. So it's
nice.
Exciting.
I'm excited to see it. So all right.
Yeah.
Have a good night, everybody. Come join us for 50 next week. It's gonna be wild and crazy. So hope to see you then. Have a good night, everybody. Take it easy.